Here at Cryptopia.us is a story by Rob Morphy entitled Robo Flowers, Florida, USA. In 1924, begins Mr. Morphy, a little girl had a bizarre encounter with a group of aggressive, robotic, plant-like UFO nauts, who not only tested her perception of reality, but allegedly caused the destruction of a school science building in Pasco County, Florida. Sometime in 1974, a beauty salon operator named Evelyn Wendt decided it was time to break years of silence and come clean regarding a strange run-in she'd had 50 years before when she was just a child. Wendt, showing courage that few eyewitnesses match, contacted The Weekday, a West Palm Beach newspaper, and asked to speak with a reporter. After receiving her call, the almost certainly skeptical newsman met the hairstylist and dutifully jotted down her decades-old testimony. Soon after, an article was published with the opening lines, "Mrs. Evelyn Wendt has carried a secret with her for the past 50 years. In 1924, she saw and talked to people from a UFO." The rest of the article would go on to chronicle Wendt's still nearly crystal-clear recollections of her once-in-a-lifetime encounter with the unknown. While playing on the lawn of St. Joseph's School in Pasco County, Florida, in 1924, Wendt claimed that she suddenly noticed a glowing egg-shaped object resting on the ground nearby. The strange thing was so bright that a little girl felt compelled to shield her eyes. Wendt believed that the object's luminosity was so intense that it may have rendered her unconscious for a moment. Regardless of whether or not the child fainted, the next thing she remembers was that the egg abruptly dimmed, revealing a leaden and pockmarked saucer-like object. It was then that she watched in astonishment as a hatch opened on the side of the object, and out poured its odd occupants. According to Wendt, little people emerged. I think they were robots. I tried to count them, but they changed about so. Or maybe charged? They were smaller than I was and resembled animated flowers with faces where the bud would be. Remember, I was just a bitty thing then, and kids do not fear flowers. According to Wendt, these diminutive robo-flowers were carrying what she assumed to be some kind of weapon, which they were trying to aim towards the school's science building. Since the botanic automatons heaving this weapon were so small, Wendt gamely offered to assist them with their cargo. But when she attempted to lift the thing, she found it weighed so much she was unable to even shift the evidently destructive device. According to Wendt, I wanted to help them. They were so small I was going to assist. The creatures let me try, but I couldn't even budge the machine. It was then that Wendt claimed these mechanical marvels began to communicate with her telepathically. They told her that experiments were being conducted in the science building they found disturbing. They went on to explain that if the work continued, they would destroy the place. When the reporter asked Wendt if she knew what that work might be, she could only shake her head no. For reasons that can only be speculated upon, the robo-flowers evidently decided that this was not the right time to destroy the science facility. Then, as they began to retreat into their egg-like craft, with a weapon in tow, one of the entities invited Wendt to come with them. Although intrigued by the prospect of seeing the inside of this ostensibly extraterrestrial vehicle, the child ultimately declined this offer. Nevertheless, the entities swore that they would return. According to Wendt, they promised to come back for me in 35 years. But that was up a long time ago, and nothing happened that I know of. Young Wendt stared in wonder as these eccentric entities, which according to our best recollection most closely resembled robot sunflowers, boarded their craft. Moments after the hatch was sealed behind the peculiar crew, Went watched the vessel ascend. In her own words, "All I can remember now is that the saucer was leaden-looking and very pockmarked. Then when it started up, its molecules expanded and it turned silvery bright. The UFO then went straight up, hovered for a minute, and disappeared from sight." In the 1970s, UFO researchers, including Stephen Putnam, attempted to hypnotize Wendt in an effort to elicit additional information regarding her curious encounter, and perhaps see if she might have been abducted without her knowledge. But unfortunately, they were unable to put her into a state of trance. Some people just cannot be hypnotized. An interesting footnote to this account regards the fact that, according to Wendt, sometime after the meeting with these plant-like robots, the science building that allegedly housed the experiments that had so roused the ire of the artificial ETs had been left in what she called a shambles. One can only wonder if these beings made good on their promise, or if the structure's apparent demolition was this merely a coincidence. Another question that must be asked, assuming the entire event was a figment of Wendt's imagination, is, why the heck would robotic flowers want to blow up a school science building? Was the building a cover for some clandestine governmental weapons lab, an underground refuge for rival aliens, or was it hiding something even more nefarious? Could it be that they had a beef with how the teachers were treating their ferns? Or maybe, when all is said and done, they were just a bunch of intergalactic dicks.